They fined me for my 25-foot antenna, so I built a 40-foot tower instead. Federal law says they can't touch it. Game over. I've been a licensed amateur radio operator since 1998. Call sign K4 Turks. I provide emergency communications during hurricanes, assist with disaster relief, and participate in public service events. This isn't just a hobby, it's a critical public service. When I bought my house in this HOA community in 2021, I checked the covenants carefully. Section 14.7 stated, external antennas and satellite dishes are prohibited except as required by federal law. Perfect. That exception was my golden ticket. The FCC's PRB1 ruling from 1985 protects amateur radio antennas. HOAs cannot completely prohibit them because amateur radio operators provide essential emergency communications when disasters strike. March 2022. I submit my architectural application for a 25-foot telescoping antenna in my backyard, not visible from the street, minimal visual impact. I include my FCC license, technical specifications, and cite PRB1 federal protections. 3 weeks later, denied. The proposed antenna structure is excessive in height and creates visual blight. I request a hearing with the Architectural Review Board. April 12th, I sit across from 5 board members. Karen, the president, leads with obvious hostility. I present my case professionally. I'm a federally licensed amateur radio operator. The FCC's PRB1 ruling requires HOAs to provide reasonable accommodation for amateur radio antennas. Board member Robert cuts me off. We don't care about FCC rules. Our covenants prohibit antennas. Denied. The covenant specifically includes an exception for federal law. PRB1 is federal law. Karen leans forward with a condescending smile. We're not allowing a giant tower in our community. It's ugly. Sue us if you want. We have insurance and attorneys. You'll lose. Huge mistake. What they don't know is that I'm a retired FCC enforcement attorney. I spent 15 years working specifically on telecommunications law and PRB1 cases. I know this area of law better than their attorneys ever will. I go home and draft a formal legal demand letter. I cite FCC PRB1 ruling 1985 Amateur Radio Parity Act 2017 Prater v. City of Burnside federal court case where HOA lost badly. Multiple FCC enforcement actions against HOAs. I send it certified mail to all 5 board members and the HOA attorney. Their response comes 3 days later, dismissive and arrogant. While we acknowledge federal telecommunications regulations, our HOA maintains the right to regulate structures that negatively impact community aesthetics. The denial stands. Any unauthorized installation will result in daily fines of $250. They're threatening me with $250 daily fines for exercising federally protected rights. Big mistake. I file 2 actions simultaneously. First, a formal complaint with the FCC Enforcement Bureau documenting the HOA's PRB1 violation. Second, I hire Michael Chen, an attorney who's won 23 cases against HOAs over amateur radio antennas. This is a slam dunk. Michael tells me they denied you completely with zero accommodation. Textbook PRB1 violation. We file a federal lawsuit seeking injunctive relief, attorney fees, and declaratory judgment. The war is on. May 15, 2022, Federal Courthouse, emergency hearing for preliminary injunction. Judge Patricia Morrison presides. She's known for being tech-savvy and no-nonsense. The HOA brings 3 attorneys. They're finally taking this seriously. Michael presents our case. Your Honor, this is straightforward federal preemption. The FCC's PRB1 ruling explicitly prohibits HOAs from completely denying amateur radio antennas. My client submitted a reasonable 25-foot antenna application. The HOA denied it entirely without any accommodation attempt. He presents my FCC license, antenna specs, photos of the proposed backyard location, and expert testimony that 25 feet is minimum height for effective HF communication. The HOA's lead attorney, Douglas Brenner, stands confidently. Your Honor, HOAs have legitimate authority to regulate structures affecting property values and aesthetics. A 25-foot tower is excessive. Judge Morrison interrupts. Counsel, have you read PRB1? Yes, Your Honor, and you're aware that in Prater v. City of Burnside, the 6th Circuit held that complete prohibition violates FCC preemption? Brenner hesitates. That case involved municipal ordinances, not HOA covenants. The principle is identical. Did your client offer any accommodation? Any alternative height or location? We, the board, felt that any antenna would be inappropriate. So the answer is no, you offered zero accommodation. Judge Morrison's voice hardens. Mr. Brenner, your client's covenant specifically includes an exception for federal law. PRB1 is federal law. Why shouldn't I find your client violated its own covenant? Brenner has no answer. Preliminary injunction granted. Mr. Patterson may install his 25-foot antenna immediately. This court finds likelihood of success on merits for PRB1 violation. Full trial scheduled for September unless parties settle. Gavel down, we won. Walking out, Brenner approaches Michael. We'd like to discuss settlement. Now you want to talk? What's the offer? We'll approve the antenna and pay $8,000 in attorney fees. Michael looks at me. I shake my head. Not enough. You harassed my client for months, threatened fines, forced a federal lawsuit, full attorney fees, currently 2200 plus written acknowledgement of PRB1 violation, plus policy changes preventing future violations. That's excessive. Then we'll see you at trial. When we win, the judge awards fees and sanctions. Your choice. Brenner walks away furious. That night, I'm planning my 25-foot installation, but then an idea hits me. PRB1 doesn't specify maximum height. It requires reasonable accommodation for effective communication. For the frequencies I operate 40 meters and 80 meters, a 40-foot tower provides significantly better performance. I call Michael. How much trouble if I install 40 feet instead of 25? He laughs. Legally? None. The injunction allows amateur radio antenna installation. PRB1 protects reasonable installations. If you can justify that 40 feet meaningfully improves performance, you're covered. I absolutely can. Better propagation, lower radiation angle, improved long-distance contacts. Then do it. Let them try to fight it. They'll lose again. I contact a professional tower company, $8,500 for a 40-foot telescoping crank-up tower with guy wires and concrete base, engineered for 120 miles per hour winds. June 3rd, 7 o'clock a.m. Installation crew arrives with a crane truck by 9 o'clock a.m. Karen is in my driveway, absolutely apoplectic. WH8 is this? The judge approved 25 feet. War is about to escalate. Karen is shaking with rage, staring up at my 40-foot tower being assembled by the crane crew. You're violating the court order. The judge said 25 feet. I'm completely calm. The court order says I can install an amateur radio antenna. This is an amateur radio antenna. There's no height restriction in the order. This is 40 feet. You're in contempt of court. Actually, I'm in full compliance with PRB1 federal law. This height provides optimal performance for the frequencies I operate, completely reasonable under FCC regulations. She pulls out her phone, calling Brenner on speaker so I can hear. He's installing a 40-foot tower. Do something. Brenner's voice comes through, exhausted and defeated. Karen, do not interfere with the installation. We're already in a federal lawsuit. If you violate the injunction by stopping him, the judge will annihilate us, but it's twice the height. I don't care if it's 60 feet. Let him install it and we'll address it through legal channels. She hangs up and glares at me with pure hatred. This isn't over. Actually, Karen, it is. By 2 o'clock p.m., the tower is complete. 40 feet of gleaming aluminum extending into the Florida sky, professional-grade tri-bander antenna on top for 20, 15, and 10-meter bands. That evening, I make my first contact, a ham operator in Germany. Crystal clear signal. The antenna performs flawlessly. 3 days later, another settlement offer arrives. They'll approve the 40-foot antenna as installed if I drop all claims, and they pay $15,000 in fees. Michael responds, your client is now settling over a bigger antenna than you originally fought. Current fees are $28,000. Pay that plus policy changes or go to trial. June 14th, final settlement agreement. $30,000 attorney fees, paid written acknowledgement. The HOA violated PRB1 my 40-foot tower. Approved permanently new HOA policy. All amateur radio applications presumed approved unless HOA approves unreasonable. Karen resigned from the board 3 days after settlement. But here's the beautiful ending. Within 2 weeks, 3 other amateur radio operators in the community contact me. They've been hiding, using terrible attic antennas, terrified of HOA retaliation. Tom W. for ABC had been denied in 2018. He submits a new application under the new policy, approved in 48 hours, installs a 30-foot tower. Jessica KN4s is installs 35 feet, approved immediately. Dave K. for Kerp puts up a 28-foot hex beam. No problems. September 2022. Hurricane Ian devastates Florida. Cell towers down. Power out for days. Our 5 amateur radio installations become the only communication network functioning in our area for 36 hours. We coordinate rescue requests, medical emergencies, supply deliveries. We pass 127 emergency messages to Red Cross and emergency management. Local news, HOA that tried to ban ham radio antennas now depends on them for emergency communications. Karen, who fought my antenna so hard, had no power for 9 days. No cell service, no communication. Meanwhile, I'm running on generator power, helping coordinate neighborhood wellness checks, literally saving lives. The new HOA president apologizes publicly. The previous board was wrong. Your antenna helped save lives. Thank you for fighting. Karen's house sold in March 2023. The new owner? A ham radio operator, call sign N4Zs. He installed a 45-foot tower last month.